If it's Friday night, it is strictly sports. But for this week only, it's Thursday night. It is strictly sports. Hello, friends. Anthony Flair here with you for this very special Thursday night edition of Strictly Sports. We're glad to have you with us. And without any further ado, let's get right into the action. Julian Edelman suspended 4 games for violating the NFL substance abuse policy. However, or is he? There is a conflicting report now, according to this new article that I just found, um, which has which reads as follows: either it's recognizable or it is not penalizable. A report in the morning on the Monday Morning Quarterback says Julian Edelman had an initially unrecognizable substance found in his system, which was the cause of his potential 4-game suspension under the NFL's PED policy. While the substance may not have been immediately recognizable, there has to be something identified in Edelman's system to draw a suspension, because a player cannot be penalized for an unknown substance. Some sort of new designer drug not written into the rules cannot be the cause of a penalty, but detection of the breakdown products of the drug can be penalized. Edelman apologized via Instagram, but said he did not know what happened to cause the test and that he is appealing the suspension. We have no idea what Edelman did or did not take. Confidentiality is paramount in the NFL drug testing process. No one who is not involved in the process is supposed to ever know what caused the positive test. Each team has a drug officer, and there are 6-figure penalties for confidentiality breaches. The drug office for the LA Chargers during my time with the team was the primary care physician. As the head team doctor and orthopedist, even I would not know. Even if it's suspended, the team and the NFL officials still won't know what the substance was. Player is the only one who can reveal that. If indeed the substance is not recognizable, Edelman will not be penalized. Certainly, if he is ultimately going to lose 4 games, I think it would be best for him to serve the suspension at the beginning of the season, since he is coming off ACL surgery after the injury that he suffered last year in a preseason game against the Detroit Lions. So that's a new detail that just emerged, but a lot of people have been really going off about this. I mean, Mike Golick. I mean, did you see Mike Golick going off on the NFL for Julian Edelman's suspension? Quite frankly, I don't blame him. I mean, the suspension, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, he's a guy that doesn't really come off as a PED guy. I mean, he's a slot receiver, the best slot receiver I've seen since Wes Welker. And, it just baffles me. I mean, I'm with Golick. I don't get it either. I mean, I don't know what could have caused it, but if he is going to lose the 4 games, like I said, I think if he is to lose them, I'd say just do the first 4, and then you can, further rest that injury that he suffered last year. And then when he comes back, then he can come back even better than he was before. So that's really all I can say about this. So that's the new detail that just emerged just a couple of days ago. So really, I don't know what else there is to say on this. So I'm going to bring in good old MF Michael Fletcher. By the way, Michael Bullock might be joining us a little bit late. Well, he probably will be joining us a little bit late because he had a special night tonight. So MF, this Julian Edelman thing, I mean, that's the new detail that I just found. So that definitely changes the complexion here.
You would think it would change the complexion, but still, it's shocking. They said that for Julian Edelman to fail a test and to be, it's one of those things where, I think we kind of have to feel like it's almost like the Robinson Cano. Great guy, respected man, tremendous player, but you just got caught. And now you got to pay the penalty. So, obviously, What he got suspended for, we will never know. But was it something that was just a mistake? Maybe he took a supplement or something, during during his rehab that triggered a positive test. It could be a number of things. It could have been a mistake. It could be, or maybe it was something more sinister. We don't know. We will never know what it is. But unfortunately, Julian Edelman got caught. He is now poised to be suspended. I don't know if he has or not been officially yet. I know they were going through the appeal process of it, but if he does get suspended, that's a bad loss because the first 4 games of the season is Houston, Jacksonville, Miami. I know they play early in the year. That's a major issue because if you think about it, Houston beat them in Foxborough a year ago. Jacksonville practically had them dead to rights in the AFC Championship game. And we know Miami split it 1-1 with New England last year. Yeah, they got beaten down in Gillette, but then Miami got New England at home at SunTrust, Sun Life. So I mean, and that's one of the biggest rivals. So anything can happen when it's the Dolphins and the Patriots. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just as shocked as you are, Anthony. I was shocked when I heard the news. I told it to my 2184 crew. A lot of them were really upset with the news. I mean, we'll wait and see what happens. So, nothing more to say, Anthony. It's all yours.
Actually, MF, New England beat Houston last year. That wild and crazy game. New England came back to win late, and yeah, it's Houston. I got the first four. The first one is Houston. That is correct. And then week 2 is the AFC Championship rematch against Jacksonville, and we're gonna be all over that one. And then they play Detroit in week 3 on a Sunday night. That's when they go up against Matt Patricia and company. And then week 4 is Miami. You're absolutely right. So the Houston game is at home. The Jacksonville game is in Jacksonville. The game's in Detroit, and then Miami comes to Gillette September 30, week 4. So if you were to lose those first 4 and come back the 5th week, it would be on a Sunday night. Actually, no, I stand corrected. It would be a Thursday night against the Indianapolis Colts. So we'll see what happens with that. If Edelman, I mean, he was sidelined last year. Of course, that injury. If the suspension is upheld, he's going to lose out on nearly $1 million, and that's definitely not going to help him or his family. So we'll see what happens. I mean, a lot to take in here, but we'll keep an eye on this if any new details emerge. So nothing really more to say on that. So let's just get into the next story here. Is Bryan Colangelo. Bryan Colangelo, a week ago, he resigned as the president of the Philadelphia 76ers. And he resigned effective immediately after his wife admitted to operating Twitter accounts that criticized team members and propped up Colangelo. On an interim basis, head coach Brett Brown is going to oversee the basketball operations on an interim basis. Colangelo's wife, whose name is Barbara Bottini, admitted to establishing and operating the account in an investigation by law firm Paul, Weiss, Rifkin, Wharton, and Garrison, LLP, found forensic evidence to corroborate her admissions. Our investigation revealed substantial evidence that Mr. Colangelo was the source of sensitive, non-public, club-related information contained in certain posts to the Twitter accounts. We believe that Mr. Colangelo was careless and in some instances reckless in failing to properly safeguard sensitive, non-public, club-related information and communications with individuals outside the 76ers organization, according to the law firm, which was commissioned by the team to investigate the matter. The move comes after a story by The Ringer brought to light the possibility that Colangelo had posted tweets from so-called burner accounts that were used to criticize current and former 76ers players. Colangelo, a two-time NBA Executive of the Year, had discussed with ownership and upper management the possibility that his wife may have been involved in the posting of the tweets. And Colangelo said, "I vigorously dispute the allegation that my conduct was in any way reckless. At no point did I ever purposely or directly share any sensitive, non-public club-related information with her. Her actions were a seriously misguided effort to publicly defend and support me, and while I recognize how inappropriate these actions were, she acted independently and without my knowledge or consent. Further, the content she shared was filled with inaccuracies and conjecture which in no way represent my own views or opinions. While this was obviously a mistake, we are a family and we will work through this together. Although I am not directly responsible for the actions, I regret this incident occurred and understand that it has become a distraction for the team. Therefore, the organization and I have mutually agreed to part ways." The Sixers said in a statement it had become clear Bryant's relationship with our team and his ability to lead the Sixers moving forward has been compromised and that they had accepted his resignation. The law firm said Bottini deleted the contents of her iPhone with a factory reset of the device prior to surrendering it for forensic review, limiting the investigation. Evidence found that Bottini established and operated 4 accounts, Eric Jr., Still Balling, enough unknown sources, and Honest Abe, but it seems some of the information being posted was coming from Colangelo himself. Some of the tweets took issue with Joel Embiid's off-court behavior. Others claimed former center Nerlens Noel was a problem in the locker room and that Jahlil Okafor's injury issues may have scuttled the trade to the Pelicans. The tweets included defenses of Colangelo's job performance and disparaging comments about his predecessor with the Sixers, Sam Hinkie, and his successor as president of the Toronto Raptors, Masai Ujiri. Other tweets alluded to sensitive information about events leading to Markelle Fultz's bizarre season-long shooting problems. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver responded to the turmoil surrounding Colangelo and the Sixers at his annual NBA Finals news conference on May 31, cautioning against a rush to judgment on the controversy. I mean, there is a lot more information here. And Silver said you have to separate sort of the chatter and sort of what either fans or frankly the media are saying from the facts. And the first thing we have to do here is determine what the actual facts are in this circumstance. It's a stunning fall for Colangelo, who is expected to lead the improving 76ers into an important summer when they are hoping to pursue LeBron James or another all-star player to add to a young core that includes Embiid and Ben Simmons. Instead, that role will go to Coach Brown for now. The 76ers said the search for a new general manager would begin immediately. "We find the situation to be disappointing for our entire organization," Sixers managing partner Josh Harris said. "We are determined to continue the tremendous progress we have made over the last 2 seasons in our quest to win an NBA championship." Colangelo, the son of longtime sports executive Jerry Colangelo, was hired as president of basketball operations in 2016 after Sam Hinkie abruptly resigned. Hinkie was the architect behind what has been called the process, the long-term tearing down and rebuilding of the Sixers. Brian Colangelo previously served as Raptors general manager, adding the 2007 Executive of the Year award to the one he won 2 years earlier in Phoenix, but he lost his job there after Toronto missed the playoffs for the 5th consecutive season, and Ujiri took over basketball operations. That's a lot to digest, but MF, you've heard the story, you heard the facts. What do we think?
Wow. When I first heard the news, I was shocked. And I don't know, I was really bothered by it. Why would you ever do anything like that? Like, that really almost makes me wonder. Like, I understand, all the stuff, but that was a lot of sensitive material that they used, and I'm a shocked that it's downright wrong what he did, and I openly admit that, and I'll openly criticize Colangelo for that because, I mean, he's one of the more respected guys, and his family is so respected in basketball, and for him to do something like this was it makes him look bad in so many lights. I was shocked. That's all I can say about it. I was shocked. I was appalled. I'm dismayed about it. But there's really nothing more to say about it other than that. Anthony, it's all yours. I'm sorry. I'm kind of at a loss for words with that.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, very disturbing indeed. Um, Brian Colangelo, one of the great executives in the NBA. I mean, when I heard about this, I was very shocked. I'm like, "You're stepping down, dude? Why?" But now that we finally have the facts, I mean, I can definitely understand it now. I mean, what a shame. I mean, he was going to be possibly the man who was going to architect. I mean, the most improved team in the NBA this past season, a team that was so fun to watch, and a team that closed the regular season winning their final 16 or 17 games. They went into the playoffs as a very hot team, and I thought they were going to go very far, but they lost in the second round to the Boston Celtics, and trust the process became a household name. And but Coach Brown is obviously gonna overlook the operations on the interim until they find a new executive there. So you know, these hard time stories. I mean, you know, I'm not a fan of them, obviously, but you know, we do take these stories very seriously, whether we like them or not. And you know, it's just I'm with MF on this. I mean, I'm baffled myself. I mean, all because all because of social media, and social media, you know, as a man of good faith, you know, I talked about this with one of my brothers from my church, and we both agreed social media is a playground for the devil. That's all there is to it. And what what Mr. Colangelo's wife did, obviously, that's that's satanistic activity as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, and once again, social media rears its ugly head. And you know, there was another story that Michael Bullock brought to my attention the other day. Although it's very similar, but it didn't involve executive. It didn't involve an executive or having to resign. It was a very disturbing story from the NHL in the Ottawa Senators that Michael Bullock had brought to my attention the other day, and you know,
Oh,
I'm
I
not
know
going to
what
share
you're
it.
talking about.
What's that?
I exactly know what you're talking about because I got into this with my 2184 crew members about this because I heard about this same story the other day. Eric Carlson,
You got it.
yeah, yeah, I heard about that. I heard about that. I was yeah. Um,
It's eerily similar. Only it didn't involve a team. It didn't involve sensitive information about the team, but it was personal, beyond personal.
oh yeah, and there's no grounds for it whatsoever. I mean, it doesn't
Oh, you
matter.
should have heard Bullock go off. I mean, when Bullock called me up the other day, and
Yeah,
he told me about the story. He brought it to my attention,
yeah.
and in my mind, I went on a Braun Strowman tantrum. In
Oh
my
yeah,
mind, that's all I
oh
can
yeah.
say on that. I went into
I
my Strowman mode.
this would have got me into Cerebral Viper. That would have gotten me into Cerebral Viper mode.
And
There's
Bullock
no
went in
ifs,
full
ands,
phenom mode.
or buts about it. And even I would agree with Michael Bullock. If he wanted it to go on a phenom rant around about that, I would have said go, just let it out because um, it normally the locker room is sacred and teammates are sacred, and sometimes, all right, you may, sometimes you don't get along with teammates. It's life. Sometimes you don't get along with people. Some people you just don't get along with. That's fine. It happens. But what Mike Hoffman and his girlfriend or wife alleged have done to Erik Karlsson's family is without a doubt the most reprehensible thing you can ever do. There's a certain line and they jumped it, beyond jumped it. And as a matter of fact, I could even give you a brief update about that. And that is that Erik Karlsson has requested to be traded. He wants out of Ottawa, and quite frankly, I don't blame him for what happened.
I don't
As
either.
a matter of fact, I hope the New York Rangers are listening. We need a player like that.
Absolutely.
Erik Karlsson is a good goal scorer. That's kind of something we were lacking last year. I don't know, Florio. Maybe make a call to Ottawa, kick some tires, see if maybe Erik Karlsson and his lovely wife, maybe the bright lights of New York, does that entice you guys?
We'd love to have you.
We'll gladly give you a Broadway blue shirt. I mean, that would be sweet. Forget about rebuilding. Forget about, maybe having a down year next year. Get a guy like Erik Karlsson. Maybe put a couple of other free agent guys who might be interested in wearing the red, white, and blue. And next thing you know, who knows? Maybe we might have a playoff contender because, quite frankly, if the fact that the Penguins won 2 years in a row, and now that we know that the Capitals won it all, wouldn't that be the kick in the pants to the Rangers saying, "Okay, guys, it's our time now"?
Well, we got a new coach. We have a brand new coach, David Quinn, who previously worked at Boston University.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know much about the man, but he has a good track record from what I heard, and according to Hicksonlaw. But it's only fitting we're getting into that because 24 years ago tonight, June 14th, 1994, a magical summer night in Madison Square Garden. What happened on that night? Oh yeah, they won it all. And unfortunately for us Ranger fans, that still is to this day the last time they won it all. Should have been 4 years ago, but it is what it is. But anywho, that's water under the bridge, and but hopefully Colangelo finds work elsewhere. So wish him the best and whatever happens. So it's a damn shame that what happened, and it's very similar to the NHL story, but the NHL story is, like I said, is way more personal than what happened up in Philadelphia. So, but anywho, on a much lighter note, it's going to be a much lighter note the rest of the show. Thankfully, there'll be no more hard time stories for now. So, and speaking of the Stanley Cup and the Washington Capitals, that's what we're going to get into next. One short week ago tonight, right around this time, actually, the Washington Capitals won their first ever Stanley Cup, defeating the upstart expansion Vegas Golden Knights, winning it in 5 games with a 4-3 win at T-Mobile Arena last Thursday night to give Alexander Ovechkin and company their first ever Stanley Cup. And quite frankly, they were the best team as far as I'm concerned. They were the best team never to win it. And I tell you what, man, they proved me wrong. They really did. And before I get into that, you remember a year ago when we were talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins winning their second consecutive Stanley Cup. You remember I went on a little bit of a rant. Well, not really a rant, but I was saying, please, anybody but the Pittsburgh Penguins next year. Anybody. And remember, and you remember what else I said on that night? I said, hell, even the Washington Capitals, anybody but the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I even think I even referenced the Vegas Golden Knights as well. But I'll have to go back into my archives and look at that. But I definitely remember saying anybody but the Pittsburgh Penguins, hell, even the Washington Capitals. I guess they must have heard me because the Washington Capitals are now Stanley Cup champions. And for the third year in a row, to the delight of myself and MF, the Stanley Cup remains in the best division in the NHL today, and that's the Metropolitan Division. We all know that hands down. But at the same time, they are our rivals. But here's the thing about the Washington Capitals. Well, from my perspective, I don't know about MF. I mean, I'm sure MF's perspective is a little bit different than mine, considering we're both Ranger fans. But I'm very happy for them. I mean, I actually do have a small little bit of respect for the Washington Capitals, unlike the Pittsburgh Penguins, who are a bunch of whiners and crybabies, and we both agree on that. But hey, they earned it. They deserved it. I mean, I think they're the first team in playoff history to win all 4 series on the road. I don't think that's ever been done before. They clinched the first round, and here's how it went down. I mean, first round, they came back from a 2-0 deficit to defeat the Columbus Blue Jackets. They lost the first 2 at home with a backup goaltender and Philippe Grubauer, and then they put their traditional goalie, Braden Holtby, in. And then that's when their fortunes turned around. They won the next 4, advanced to the second round for yet another date with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And this time around, they finally solved the Penguin puzzle. They finally solved the Crosby and Malkin puzzle. And they put away the Pittsburgh Penguins in 6 games, winning on an overtime goal to put them away. Finally got that monkey off their back. And then in the Eastern Conference Finals, they fell behind 3-2 to the team that, honestly, I thought was going to win the Stanley Cup this year, the Tampa Bay Lightning, because I thought they were the best and most complete team out there. But Washington found a way to come back. Back-to-back shutouts in Games 6 and 7. And that propelled the Washington Capitals to only their second Stanley Cup final of all time. The other, of course, in 1998, where they were swept 4 in a row by the Detroit Red Wings back during their dynasty years in the 90s, in the 2000s. And then from there, going up against the team that captured America's hearts, including my heart and including MF's heart, the Vegas Golden Knights. And man, I mean, 2 games in Washington, not really all that great, to be honest with you. But all 3 games at T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, games 1, 2, and the clinching 5, all 3 of those games were 5-star classics, chock full of Shakespearean drama at its absolute finest. You had that high-scoring slugfest in Game 1 that the Golden Knights won. And then after that, it was all Washington after that. And it was all because of the greatest save that you will ever see in Stanley Cup playoff history, other than Henrik Lundqvist standing on his head in Game 6 against Montreal in 2014 that got us over the hump. The save that Braden Holtby made on Alex Tuch. If Holtby doesn't make that save, I don't think the Washington Capitals win the Stanley Cup. I think the Washington Capitals would have endured yet another playoff disappointment. I think perhaps we would have been talking about maybe the Vegas Golden Knights as Stanley Cup champions. If Tuch scores that goal, I think that this series would have gone completely different. And I think Vegas would have won that thing. But nonetheless, that save by Holtby turned the complexion of the series, and then Washington just picked up the ball and they just ran with it. Alexander Ovechkin, say what you want about him, but he finally gets his moment. I mean, he was the best player since Ray Bourque, never to win a Stanley Cup. And I kept saying to myself, he's probably gonna have to endure just as long a wait, or even a longer wait, as Raymond Bourque. But it was in half the time. Ray Bourque Ray Bork had to wait 22 years to win his first Stanley Cup. When he finally got it in 2001, that emotional win for the Colorado Avalanche against the New Jersey Devils, and then the infamous call by Gary Thorne and MF, where Raymond Bourque, got the cup from Joe Sakic, and tears fell down. And to this day, that is still the greatest moment in NHL history, regardless of what team you root for. And then from there, Ovechkin only had to do it in 11 years. And think of all the playoff disappointments that team has endured. 3 times they lost to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And all 3 of those times, the Pittsburgh Penguins went on to win the Stanley Cup themselves. 2009, 2016, and 2017. 3 more times, they were defeated by our New York Rangers. Second round in 2012, 7 games. Another 7. And all 3 of those series went the distance, went 7 games, and 3 of the greatest series of all time. 2012, second round. 2013, that lockout season. Rangers won that in the first round. And then, of course, we'll never forget 2015, that second round series, that game 7. That was a 5-star Shakespearean drama classic. Derek Stepan with the winner to send MSG into euphoria, myself into euphoria, MF into euphoria, Ranger fans into euphoria. And at the same time, you felt bad for them. There was another year, 2010, they won the President's Trophy. They got dumped in the first round by Montreal. And then in 2008, they lost to Philadelphia. In 2011, they were beaten by Tampa Bay. We kept wondering, is this team ever going to find their way? Is this team ever going to find a way to finally get this thing done? Are they ever going to win a Stanley Cup? Because they're the best team to never win it. Well, not anymore. They finally found a way. They got it done. Ovechkin, the MVP. He deserves it. But at the same time, I kind of think Hopi should have gotten it just for that save alone in game 2. That's not valuable. I don't know what is. 15 goals for Alexander Ovechkin. He definitely, in that sense, he deserved it. You also could have made an argument for Evgeny Kuznetsov, who led the league with, who had more points than anybody in these playoffs. He had 32 points, 12 goals, and 20 assists. Ovechkin had 15 goals and 12 assists, and then Nicholas Backstrom had a great postseason with 5 goals, 18 assists. TJ Oshie, could have made an argument for him with 8 goals and 13 assists. And Braden Holtby was 16-7, a 2.16 goals against, a 922 save percentage, and 2 shutouts. And it's a shame the series only lasted 5 games, because that was on its way to becoming one of the great Stanley Cup final in recent memories. And all 3 of those games in Vegas were 3 of the greatest final games I ever saw, including that save in game 2, and then game 5. They trailed 3-2 going into the third period, and then halfway through, Devontae Smith-Pelly tied the game, and then Lars Eller, the first player ever from the country of Denmark to get his name on the cup. And go figure, Lars Eller will go into an elite group of legends and Hall of Famers who can say, hey, I scored the goal to win the Stanley Cup for my team. And he did just that. But whether we love him or we hate him, we cannot help but respect them. And like I said, they proved me wrong. I didn't even have them on my radar. Going in, I had Tampa Bay and Nashville in the final, with Tampa Bay winning it. Because I thought Tampa and Nashville were the 2 best teams going in. But Vegas not only surprised me, they also impressed me. And I'm definitely on that bandwagon, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. They won my heart. They won MF's heart. They won the hearts of the nation. And my heart breaks for them. I really wanted to see them get that. I mean, that would have been so awesome to see a team win the whole thing in their first year. Only the second expansion team to ever get to the final in their first year. 50 years ago, the St. Louis Blues were in their first year and they got to the Stanley Cup final in 1968, only to lose to the Montreal Canadiens. But nonetheless, congratulations to the Washington Capitals. Barry Trotz, the head coach, Ted Leonsis, the owner, and all the players from Ovechkin to Kuznetsov to Holtby. I mean, even though they're our rival, and we have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with that team, but unlike those crybabies in Pittsburgh, we actually do respect this team. I mean, those 3 series that the Rangers beat them, they pushed us to our limits. None more so than 2015. They easily could have beat us in 2015, but Rangers got the lucky bounce and Stepan put them away. But I'm glad they finally got it off their back. They finally get the monkey off their back. I mean, it was like Steve Young in the San Francisco 49ers, when they won that Super Bowl, when they beat the Chargers, Steve Young got that monkey off his back, getting out of the shadow of Joe Montana, that great story. Now, Ovechkin was not in the shadow of anybody, but it's so good to see a team, so many disappointments over the years finally break through and finally get that magic moment. And, it was a great journey. MF and I, we enjoyed it. I mean, we enjoyed this Stanley Cup playoff year. And, it's a time of the year we look forward to so much every year. And MF added another chapter to his Screaming Michael Fletcher legacy, why he's the GOAT. And that's all there is to it. So congratulations to the Washington Capitals. Well-deserved Stanley Cup. But remember, once that new season starts, it's open season. We all get a shot at you, including the Rangers. So be ready. We're going to be ready for you, Bubbas. Next year, we're going to be ready for you. So enjoy it for now. But come October, once that banner goes up, it's on. We're all coming for you. Open season. So congrats nonetheless. So I'm going to bring in the Doc Emmerich to my Eddie Olczyk and the Gary Thorne to my Bill Clement, good old MF, Michael Fletcher, and MF. I mean, even though there are rivals and I don't know what else there is to say. I mean, they finally got it done. They get the monkey off their back, and I didn't really think they had a chance to do it, but you believed in them. You believed in them when I didn't. So, MF, your thoughts on the Washington Capitals winning the Stanley Cup? I mean, you had them beating Tampa. I disagree with you. They proved me wrong. Stanley Cup final, you had them beating Vegas. I disagreed. They proved me wrong again. But what was it? What was it about the Capitals that made you believe in them to finally get this done?
I think what got me to believing was that Brendan Holtby finally became the goaltender that I think we all knew that he was. He was a really good goaltender, but if you really think about it, he wasn't the goalie in the first 2 games against Columbus. It was Grubauer who was, and both games they lost. And then they made that switch to Holtby. They changed the lines a little bit, and that's where now they started looking like the Washington Capitals again. The line with, they had to do a makeshift line. And, you could tell, even in the first game of the Stanley Cup final, that they were not intimidated with the Vegas Golden Knights. And what was really the factor in that game, Anthony, was that the hard hit that Tom Wilson laid. It kind of felt like he was like, okay, this is the finals. We're not intimidated of the Golden Knights, and we're going to take it to you guys. And they did. They were out hitting them. They were out muscling them. They were playing that so-called bully hockey that you talk about a lot, Anthony. And yeah, we can talk about the save, which was which did. I still cannot believe that did not go in. It's one of the great moments for me as a commentator. You always dream of what you're going to react, what's going to be the reaction at that particular moment. And for me, I was just like, wow. I mean, I had to sit back after it was all over, especially after game 2. And I was just thinking, it almost was like that, the Richard Dawson Family Feud moment. Let's make a note of this. Let's remember this because, like you said, if that would have gone in, if they would have gone to overtime, clearly the advantage would have been Vegas. Vegas would have had the momentum, and who knows? We might be talking about the Vegas Golden Knights as the Stanley Cup champions. You don't know. So it was an amazing night. It was an amazing game, and then what Washington did was they just imposed their will. They finally played like the team that we knew that they were, a dominating team. And yeah, it was one of those games that it was just remarkable to watch. And they played so good. They really frustrated the Golden Knights. The Golden Knights really had no answer. Marc-Andre Fleury, who was spectacular all postseason long, he was mortal. For the first time I could see, he was mortal. He was making mistakes. Pucks that normally he makes great saves on, he was missing. Big mistakes that were made in the game, but the defense let him down as well. You know, there was a couple of mistakes that don't make mistakes in, especially in your own zone. Bad passes, maybe a bad ricochet off the boards that kind of gave the Capitals an opportunity for goals. And it just was one of those nights where it was one of those situations where it was just the stars were starting to align for the Washington Capitals. And then yes, game 5 back in Vegas, you know, they didn't yield. They fought, they battled, they scrapped, they clawed, they did everything they could do just to stay alive in the series. But Washington just did not want to lose this cup, and that's what it was. Because honestly, and even all my guys were saying this, the 2184 crew, Kevin LaRoche, Bill McConnell, Rich Lopes, we all agreed they had to win that game. They had to end the series because if you lose game 5, go back into game 6, the anxiety was going to start to mount for Washington. And trust me, being up 3-1, and they were 5 times 3-1 ahead. And it was one of those situations where you better finish this off because if you don't, we're going to get you. I made that battle cry once, and it proved to be right. Anthony started losing the faith on the Rangers when it went 3-1. I was like, we got this. I know it. I feel it. They're going to choke. Watch. And if you remember on the Ranger Roundup, I made that infamous last stand, as I like to call it. And I told the Capitals, you better finish us in game 6 because if you don't, we got your ass in game 7. That's what the Vegas Golden Knights were thinking. If we beat you in 5, we force you to think about game 6 back in Washington. You better finish us there. If you don't, we got you back in Vegas, game 7 with the cup on the line. Don't tell me Washington would start be thinking, uh-oh, at that point. So for me, it was an incredible scene. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. It was an incredible game, an incredible series, but when it was all said and done, Anthony, they did it. Washington did it. They got it. And for me, that was a thrill, even for myself. And I know you were wondering what I would have said at the moment that it happened. And I just, I was thinking about it so much, from, the Doc Emmerich to the voice of the Washington Capitals. And I think it would have been something similar, where I would have said, um, it probably would have gone, uh, can you believe this? It's finally happened. Washington, D.C., your long suffering nightmare is over. This one will last a lifetime. For the first time in their franchise history, the Washington Capitals have won the Stanley Cup. And then I just let the moment happen. Um, and then, of course, the other moment I would have done right before Ovechkin would have had the trophy, it would have been just that. You know, Alexander Ovechkin will be the first man to get it. He's waited a long time for this, 11 years in the making, and then once he gets the cup, from Gary Bettman, there's only 5 words that I would have just said: the Washington Capitals, Stanley Cup champions. I think that's the exclamation point. Him just skating it, listening to that crowd. It's a moment that I'll never forget. I get goosebumps every time that cup is out. Every time a guy who works his tail off, we don't get that many moments. I teared up a little bit in '94 for the Rangers. We collectively teared up for Raymond Bourque when he finally won the cup. I was marveling, and I had a big smile on my face seeing Ovechkin, Nicholas Backstrom, those 2 guys alone, because of how long they waited for that cup. Ovechkin 11 years, Nick Backstrom 13 years. He waited to win that Stanley Cup. There's a few guys there who's been there for a long time that was waiting to hoist it, and it's an incredible moment. But then let's go over to the other side, to the Vegas Golden Knights. What a story for them. First season ever, inaugural season, 501 underdog, 501 favorites to win the Stanley Cup. Nobody really thought they were going to do much. Everybody had predicted them to be in last place in the division. They won the division. Then they're like, there's no way they're going to make the Stanley Cup because, look at who they got to deal with. They got to deal with the LA Kings. They swept them in 4. Then you're like, all right, San Jose. San Jose's been really good. They've been playing great lately. They're gonna get caught. The sooner they're gonna get caught. They went right through them like nothing. Then once you saw Winnipeg knocks out Nashville, basically Anthony's pick to go to the Cup final, they went down in flames. You're thinking, oh, they might have a chance here. Well, they did. They won it, and they got to the Cup final. Even though I know Vegas fans are a little disappointed because, man, what would have that been like if they would have won it all? But let me tell you, man, they got nothing to be ashamed of. Their future is so bright. They got unbelievable. They got something really good cooking in Vegas, and that's really going to be a very exciting time for the Golden Knights and everything else. Is it a one-hit wonder? Was it just a mirage, like one of the Vegas casinos and hotels that they have on the Strip? Is it a mirage, or are these guys for real? Are they going to be a contender and a threat for years and years to come? We will find out soon enough about Vegas. But I'll say this: my interest in hockey is back better than ever before. Because as many of you guys know, I kind of lost interest after the lockout year. When the lockout happened, when they lost the Stanley Cup, that really irked me as a hockey fan. And I even told Kevin LaRoche that I literally lost interest in the NHL. I lost my faith in the teams. I lost my faith in the players, everything else. But slowly but surely, I've been coming back to the game. Maybe it's because of our coverage that we do for the NHL on TXN. But whatever the case may be, this has been an amazing Stanley Cup playoff. This was a remarkable season, a tremendous job that we've done all year long, and I cannot wait to do it again next season. For me, this was the most fun I've had with hockey in quite a long time. So, congratulations to the Golden Knights for making it to their first ever Stanley Cup final in the first season ever. But more importantly, congratulations to the new Stanley Cup champions, Washington Capitals. Yes, Metropolitan Division. Yes, the arrival of the New York Rangers. I think Kevin LaRoche is more angry and more like Washington sucks more than me and you are, Anthony. But whatever the case may be, this was amazing, and I had so much fun with it. So, with that said, it's all yours.
Well said. Well said. But now, MF, I'll keep your mic on because you're going to be leading off on, the other big championship moment that went down 24 hours later, last Friday night, 6 nights ago. The Golden State Warriors cemented themselves as the NBA's newest dynasty, completing a 4-0 sweep of the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA Finals. They put them away in Game 4 in grand fashion in Cleveland, 108-85, to win their second straight NBA championship and third in the last 4 years, albeit all of them against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And Kevin Durant was named the MVP of the finals. Of course, for those who may not know, the playoff journey for the Golden State Warriors. First round, they went up against the San Antonio Spurs. They defeated them in 5 games. In the second round, it was another 5-game series, this time against the upstart New Orleans Pelicans. Knocked them out in 5. And then in a very exciting Western Conference final, knocked off the Houston Rockets, defeating them in 7 games. And then against the Cleveland Cavaliers, a clean 4-0 sweep, the first final sweep since 2007, when the San Antonio Spurs swept LeBron and the Cavs 4 in a row. So 2 in a row, 3 out of the last 4. MF, last time I checked, that's a dynasty.
It is a dynasty. No doubt about it. You can't disagree with that. And the way that they did it was pure domination. Steph Curry, of course, the MVP of the NBA Finals. Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant. I was about to say that, Florio.
Okay.
I was going to refer to Durant as the MVP of the NBA Finals. Draymond Green, Klay Thompson. You can go on and on about how great this team was, and the way that they won this NBA Finals was emphatic. It was, Game 1, you can definitely say that was definitely Cleveland's best shot to steal a game. And, you could talk about the J.R. Smith mistake. You can talk about, certain mistakes that were made in Game 1. But, at the end of the day, it is what it is. And they, sometimes mistakes happen, whatever. I know a lot of people really got on J.R. Smith big time about that error. That's a Dipsy Dubacharu for the ages. But, you have to bounce back from that. And I don't think Cleveland really did. I don't know if it was just they just didn't have it, but for the second time in their history, for the second time that I can remember, this is the second time that I can remember where Golden State won the title on Cleveland's court. So I mean, this is the second time that the Q was the site where the NBA Finals ended on the court. So it was a dominating performance. It was everything that was meant to be. And when it was all said and done, Golden State proved that they were the better team. And I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh yeah, but." Especially in the Western Conference Final, they're like, "Yeah, but CP3 got hurt, and if it wasn't for that, maybe this would have been a different story." Okay, coulda, woulda, shoulda. But Golden State uh, preserved what they needed it to do. They earned the right to win the series as they did. So for me, Golden State was the deserving NBA World Champions. So congratulations to them, winning 2 in a row now, 3 out of the last 4. Like you said, it is a dynasty. Anthony, I would love to hear what you had to say about it, especially your call, because I did kind of tip my hand here tonight. What was your golden moment? What did you have planned for the Warriors when they won the NBA title?
Well, very similar to what Sean McDonough said in 1993 in the World Series. The winners and still NBA champions, the Golden State Warriors, 2 in a row, 3 out of the last 4. They have just cemented themselves as the greatest and newest dynasty in the NBA today. And I would have just left it at that. I would not have gone into my, Gus Johnson cracked voice moment. I only do that when, whenever we have a major upset or if we have, an exciting finish. But let's be realistic. There was no Shakespearean drama whatsoever. That game was an absolute dud from start to finish. And MF, I'm going to be honest with you. You were just honest with us regarding the Stanley Cup and the NHL and how you said you lost interest, with the lockout. Well, I'm going to be quite blunt with you here, my friends. As of going into that series, I've actually started to lose interest in the NBA a little bit. I mean, because, in the NBA, it's the same old story, same old song and dance. I mean, we've had this series the last 4 years. Now, granted, when the series first happened, we were very excited about it. Yes. The first couple of years were exciting. I mean, 2016, absolutely. I mean, that game 7 where Cleveland, stole it. I mean, we were all, talking about how that was the greatest game in the history. And, we still stand by that. But I got to say, the last couple of years, they haven't really been fun for me. This year, especially. I mean, this year, oh my gosh. I mean, there was never a time. This is the first time where I can honestly say I couldn't wait for this series to be over because, because it's at the point of go away. Same 2 teams, last 4 years. I can't tell you how honest, how I was pushing. I was really pushing for both Houston and Boston to win those series. I wanted to see the Celtics and the Rockets in that final. If it had been those 2 teams in the final, MF, let's be realistic. That series would have been 10 times better than this crap series that we got. This series, I mean, yeah, we had that one exciting game, that overtime game, with the J.R. Smith botcheroo and all that. I mean, that was the only really good game in that series. And you can make an argument for game 3. Game 3, was exciting for a little bit. But games 2 and 4, snoozers. And, and this is why I've started to lose interest in the NBA. I want to see parity. I mean, this is why, in all honesty, friends, the Stanley Cup playoffs are far better than the NBA playoffs. We get more exciting games, more Shakespearean drama, and there was parity. this year we were going to have a first-time champion no matter who came out of it. And that's why I was more excited for the Stanley Cup final than I was for the NBA final, to be honest with you. And now, if you didn't hear Colin Cowherd on his Herd show, he's already gone on the record. He thinks it's going to be Boston and Golden State next year. And he's actually got the Celtics pulling the upset. If it's those two next year, okay, maybe I'll start to get my interest back. I mean, a long time ago, when I was a little boy, I mean, I always looked forward to the NBA playoffs. MF did too. And, you know, especially those Bulls years in the 90s, you know, it was definitely right around 95. That's when I really started to get into it. And, you know, watched a lot of times watching the games with my brother, you know. We used to have a lot of fun with that, you know. And, you know, all-star game and all that good stuff. But you know, a lot of egos, a lot of personality, you know, conflicts in the whole 9 yards, and ridiculous stories, and a lot of scandal in the whole 9 yards. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy for the Golden State Warriors. I mean, my older sister Nicole has a beautiful friend named Dawn Avalar. You know, I've mentioned her name on the show quite a few times. You know, she posted on her Facebook how excited she was about Golden State winning again, because that's her team. You know, she's a ride and die Golden State Warriors fan. And yeah, I mean, when I actually posted my call on her Facebook page, and she loved it. And, you know, I said, enjoy it. Congratulations, you deserve it. And 2 in a row and 3 out of the last 4, you got a dynasty, my dear. Drink it in. And he's like, I'm bathing it in. And I'm like, yeah, I knew you would. So I'm happy for her. I'm happy for their fan base. And, you know, they're a fun team to watch, I'll be honest. But man alive, I mean, I hope and pray that next year we get parity. So help me. If we see these two teams yet again for a 5th year, I don't know. I just don't know. But that's why I was hoping for either Boston and or Houston or both to break through. And fortunately, the Celtics and the Rockets both choked on their home courts, and we ended up getting this final. I dreaded this series going in, and after what we saw, can you blame me for dreading? That's all I can say on that. But Golden State deserved it. You know, they earned it. You know, they dominated from start to finish. And Kevin Durant deserves the MVP and all that. He had a great series. He averaged about 29 a game, and that pretty much was the catalyst for that. So, memo to the NBA: I want parity. That's all there is to say on that. I want to see a different matchup in the finals next year. Don't get me wrong, I'm still excited for the postseason. I mean, it's an exciting time of the year, yes, but too many blowouts, too many boring games. That's why I'm starting to lose interest in the NBA. Out of the 4 major team sports, that's number 4. The other 3, I'm more excited about the other 3. You know, but come on, NBA. Do we really want to see these two for a 5th year in a row? With our luck, we're probably going to get that again next year. It wouldn't surprise me. But, you know, it is what it is. So it breaks my heart to say this, but, you know, it's true. I got to be honest with you guys. I got to tell it like it is. And, you know, until I see parity, I can't get excited for the NBA Finals. Not like I used to. Back in the day, I used to be excited all the time. But nowadays, until I see something different, I can't get excited about it unless they prove me differently. So, nonetheless, both teams had a great season, and they deserved where they were. They deserved to get to where they were. You know, Cleveland had another great run, but, you know, see what happens. So, nothing more to say on that. Congratulations to the Golden State Warriors. Well-deserved NBA championship, 2nd in a row, 3 of the last 4. Just hope we get a different final next year. That's all I'm saying. I mean, hopefully it's somewhat different next year at least. So, unfortunately, we were hoping to have Michael Bullock here because this was going to be the time where we were going to have him share his experiences from the 50th annual Special Olympics State Summer Games that went down a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, he's nowhere to be seen. I know he had a busy night tonight, so I'm barring a last second appearance. I'm not sure if he's going to be coming in, but I'm hopeful that he can somehow get in within the next few minutes. But nonetheless, until Bullock gets in, we're just going to have to move on here to the Major League, to our newest installment of the Major League Baseball Power Rankings. And of course, we didn't do them last week because we had our big World Cup show last week. And I'll say it like this: the top three are no-brainers. That's all I can say on that. Top three, absolute no-brainers. But 4 to 10, I got to be honest, sure. But I think ultimately, I think maybe we got this just about right. So really nothing more to say here. So I'm just gonna, well, really the top five were no brainers, but 6 through 10, that's where it gets a little difficult. You know, try to put the numbers together. But yeah, so with all that being said, let's dive on in to this latest installment of the Major League Baseball Power Rankings, and looking through the numbers and everything else. Excuse me. Actually, I think I have what I need here. So yeah, so I'm just running through the numbers here now, and the bottom tier, that is. So I think we have everything we need here. So right, that's 8. I need 2 more. So okay. All right, I think I got what I need. So yeah, okay, I got what I need. All right. So so with all that being said, let's start off this installment of the Major League Baseball Power Rankings, and coming in at number 10. Let me see who I have here. I think this is who I want. Okay. All right, I got it. Start off at number 10 with the Washington Nationals. Washington Nationals coming in at number 10. Yep, that's it. 37. We have a 37-28 record. 1 game winning streak, 5-5 in the last 10 games. They're 1.5 behind MF's Braves and the NL East. Second in WHIP, 3rd in ERA, 20th in runs scored, 22nd in batting average. And since our last rankings, they lost 2 out of 3 to MF's Braves, swept the Tampa Bay Rays in a 2-game interleague series, lost 2 out of 3 to the Giants, San Francisco Giants, and then they split a 2-game interleague series with my Yankees. They were off tonight, but they start a 3-game interleague series with the Toronto Blue Jays up in Toronto, and then they get the Yankees again for a makeup game on June 18th, or I should say on Monday, in Washington, and then another interleague series, a 3-game interleague series with the Baltimore Orioles before they go up against their division rivals, the Philadelphia Phillies. So very exciting action, to say the very least. So With that being said, number 10, it is the Washington Nationals. So MF, let's get started with your end of the power ranking. Your number 10.
I actually agree. Washington's my number 10, no doubt about it. We're not going to waste too much time into this, so I'm just going to dive right into the number 9, and that is Milwaukee Brewers. 5-5 in the last 10 as well. Winners of 2 in a row. A big 1-0 victory over the Chicago Cubs today, which kind of keeps them at bay, gives them a 1.5 game lead on the Cubbies. Big situation there. And as a matter of fact, it also protects them as they actually have the best record in all of the National League. But they got a couple of teams breathing down their necks right now. They got the Braves, and they also got the Nats right now, kind of right there, almost trying to pick them off. So we'll see what happens there. But all in all, nice little situation for them. So my number 9 is the Milwaukee Brewers. Anthony, go.
Yep, I agree. It's Milwaukee. They come in at number 9, winners of 2 in a row, 5-5. The last 10, 41-27. 1 game ahead of your Braves, MF, for the best record in the National League. Who would have thought that? Considering the powers that we have in the National League, from Nationals to the Cubs, the Cardinals, and the Dodgers, just to name a few. But never would thought I'd be saying Milwaukee and Atlanta would be vying for best record in the NL. No way. But both of them have proved me wrong, especially Atlanta. We'll get into them in a little bit because I've got them much higher. Milwaukee, 4th in ERA, 7th in the WHIP, 14th in batting average, 16th in runs scored. And since our last rankings, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Chicago White Sox. And then they lost 2 in a row. And then they got swept in a 2-game interleague series by the Cleveland Indians in Cleveland. But they have come around. They took 2 out of 3 from the Philadelphia Phillies in Philly. Those 2 games, they outscored Philly 24-7 in those 2 games. And then winning 2 out of 3 from the Chicago Cubs at home. That's a very big deal. Big series there. And they were off tonight. And they will be starting a 3-game series once again with the Philadelphia Phillies, this time at home. And then they go on the road to Pittsburgh for a 3-gamer starting Monday. And then a big 4-game series at home with the St. Louis Cardinals starting next Thursday. And that pretty much takes care of that. So yeah, absolutely right. The Milwaukee Brewers coming in at number 9 in this installment of the Major League Baseball Power Rankings. And moving on now to the number 8 spot, and we have a tie. We have a tie in this spot. Because both of these teams are 6-4 in their last 10 games. Chicago Cubs and Cleveland Indians, co-number 8s. Even though the Cubs have lost 2 in a row, they're still 6-4 in their last 10 games. We should take that into consideration. 38-27 record, 1.5 behind Milwaukee in the Central. Okay, I thought Bullock came in for a minute. All right. They're 2nd in ERA. They're 6th in batting average, 7th in runs scored, 11th in the WHIP. And since our last rankings, they had a 3-game sweep of the New York Mets up at Citi Field. And then they took 2 out of 3 from the Philadelphia Phillies. Also took 2 out of 3 from the Pittsburgh Pirates. But what killed them here, losing 2 out of 3 to Milwaukee, in Milwaukee, getting shut out each of the last 2 games, 5-0 combined. They were off tonight as well. But they've got a big 3-game series coming up this weekend against the St. Louis Cardinals in St. Louis, including the Saturday night game on Fox, and then, of course, Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. And then a 3-game series, an NLCS rematch with the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's at Wrigley Field. Big 3-game series there. Dodgers have been finally coming around. I'll tell you right now, they're in my top 3, believe it or not. the Dodgers, and then a 4-game series with the Cincinnati Reds, the dud Cincinnati Reds, up in Cincinnati. So that's it for Chicago. And then my other number 8 is the Cleveland Indians, 1 in a row, 6-4 in their last 10 games, 36-31, a 4.5 game lead over Detroit in the AL Central, 4th in WHIP, 6th in runs scored, 8th in batting average, 17th in the ERA. And since our last rankings, the Indians were swept 3 in a row by Minnesota. They got swept 3 in a row by Minnesota in Minnesota, and then bounced back by sweeping a 2-game interleague series with Milwaukee. That's a saving grace. And then they won 2 out of 3 from the Detroit Tigers, and then split a 4-game series 2-2 with the Chicago White Sox. They bookended it. They won the first game, lost the second and third game, but then they won the 4th game tonight. That saved them. Had they lost that game, they would have been out, but they probably would have been out, or they would have been lower. But tomorrow they start a 3-game series with the Minnesota Twins at home, and then they got the White Sox coming in for 3, and then they got the Tigers coming in for 3. So a 9-game homestand, all against division rivals, Minnesota, and then the White Sox, and then Detroit. So that's it. And I'll tell you right now, this is my only tie in these rankings this week. Number 8, co-number 8s, Chicago Cubs, Cleveland Indians, only tie. The remaining 7 standalone. MF, your thoughts?
I agree with that. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Especially because of the near the top is definitely really high and really good. So actually nothing more to say. So yeah, I agree with what you said. And now my number 7 is actually, this is where the Atlanta Braves fall. Did 6-3 in the last 10 games, winners of 3 in a row, including a dominating 4-2 victory. You know what? I'm just gonna say it. You never know with Atlanta. They just keep winning games. Freddie Freeman, Albies, the pitching looks great. Actually, we had a really strong performance by Anibal Sanchez. He gave us 7 innings of shutout ball tonight, and that's, when you can get that and you get the hitting, you can get 3 runs or more. Maybe that's good enough to win on a given night, and they have done it so many times. Games that where it looks like it's impossible to win, they find the impossible to do it. And they've had success with their divisional rivals up to this point. They've played great in clutch moments, and right now, I mean, Atlanta is just poised. I can't believe I'm saying this because, right now they're looking good. Once we get to All-Star break, if they're still there, then you got to start thinking maybe we might be buyers more than sellers in the trading deadline. You got to start thinking that down the line. So we'll see what happens. But whatever the case may be, for me, number 7, any other time they would definitely be flirting top 5, but there's so many good teams up here this time around that just being at number 7 and the body of work that they've done, that's not an indictment on the Braves. It's just that there's so many good teams this time around that it made it a little more difficult for us to bump them up. And like I said, 6-4, winners of 3 in a row. Anthony, I think you will openly admit this. That would be top 5 worthy caliber. But when you got some of the other teams that we're going to get into in just a little bit and see their body of work, like I said, it's not an indictment against Atlanta. Atlanta has done nothing wrong. It's just there's too many good teams. It's top heavy at the top. So nothing more to say. Atlanta, and Anthony, it's yours.
Couldn't agree with you more, MF. It is the Atlanta Braves at number 7, winners of 3 in a row, 6-4 in the last 10, 40-28 record, second best record in the National League, only 1 behind Milwaukee. They're 1.5 ahead of Washington in the NL East, and since the last rankings, they won 2 out of 3 from the Washington Nationals. They did have a couple of bumps in the road. They lost 2 out of 3 to the dud San Diego Padres. I'm still scratching my head over that one because San Diego is terrible. I don't know how you guys lost 2 out of 3 to them in San Diego. And then they would lose 2 out of 3 again, this time to the Los Angeles Dodgers. I can understand that because the Dodgers have finally gotten their stroke back from last year. Took them a while to get there. They were off on Monday, and then they swept a brief 2-game series with the Mets, outscoring them 10-2 in the process. And then, like MF said, that 4-2 win over San Diego tonight. The first of a 4-game series with the Dud Padres, this time in Atlanta at SunTrust Park. 3 more against them this weekend. They'll be off on Monday. And then a 2-game interleague series with the Toronto Blue Jays up at Skydome in Toronto on Tuesday and Wednesday. Off on Thursday. And then another interleague series, this time at home against another dud team, the Baltimore Orioles. Yeah, enjoy feasting on that, MF. I mean, I'm sure your boys are going to have a lot of fun with them next week. So that's really all there is to say on that. I mean, you've said everything that needs to be said about Atlanta. I mean, to me, I'm going to be real honest with you. They're my biggest surprise. I mean, I honestly had no faith in Atlanta whatsoever. I thought it was going to be another meh year for them. I thought it was going to be maybe another 4th or 5th place season for them, but they have really surprised me. They've really impressed me. And you said it, MF, Aussie Albies. I mean, you got a dynamo there, kid. That's all there is to it. You got a dynamo. That's all there is to say on that. And he is to your Braves what Gleyber Torres is to my Yankees. A young dynamo who has quietly captured the hearts of the nation. You know, so fun to watch. And we'll get into Mr. Torres in just a little bit. So, yeah, nothing more to say on that. So I think what's needed to be said was said. So Atlanta Braves coming in at number 7. Moving on to number 6. This is where I have, for the first time in a while, the Arizona Diamondbacks. The D-backs have finally, after a very tough, very rough stretch, they're finally getting their groove back. They're 7-3 in their last 10, but they did lose their last game, 37-30, a 2-game lead over the Dodgers in the NL West, 6th in ERA, 7th in WHIP, 14th in runs scored. They got to work on the batting average. They're 28th in batting average. That's not good. Since the last rankings, you know, they've done rather well. A 3-game sweep of the Miami Marlins, outscoring them 21-4. Is that correct? Yes, 21-4 in that process. But then they lost 2 out of 3 to the San Francisco Giants up in San Francisco. And then another 3-game sweep, this time on the Colorado Rockies in Denver. And they outscored them 29-14 in those 3 games. And then they followed that up by winning 2 out of 3 from the Pittsburgh Pirates at home. And as of right now, they're playing right now, and they lead the New York Mets 4-3. That is in the bottom of the 8th. And we'll see how that goes. The first of a 4-game series with the Mets at home. 3 more against the Mets this weekend. And then starting Monday, a 2-game interleague series with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim up in Anaheim. That should be an interesting series. They're off on Wednesday. And then they have a 4-game series in Pittsburgh against the Pirates. So, yeah, D-backs slowly but surely getting their groove back. You know, they started red hot, and then they went ice cold. Oh, okay, we got Michael Bullock in. So, MF, Arizona Diamondbacks are my number 6. MF, let's quickly get to your number 6, and then we'll bring Bullock in. MF, your number 6, if you have it. All right.
Did we lose him?
No, I don't know if we lost him, but we're gonna take a break from the power rankings for right now. Michael Bullock has just joined us. Glad you made it, Bullock. I thought we were gonna lose you for the night, but thankfully we got you here. We got into everything. Let's get you caught up here. What are your thoughts on the Julian Edelman situation?
Man, I mean, this is a crazy situation here with Julian Edelman. Here's a guy who's just getting back from an ACL injury, and then now he's going to be suspended 4 games for performance-enhancing drugs, and they said that there was something in it that they couldn't even recognize. So, but to me, and I'll be quite honest, I don't know how you feel, Florio, but I think the Patriots are going to be fine without Edelman for the first 4 games, because remember last season, they got to the Super Bowl without Edelman. And the last time I remembered, the Patriots, they were without Tom Brady for 4 games when he was suspended for the whole Deflategate nonsense. And then what happened there? Patriots ended up winning the Super Bowl. So I think the Patriots are just going to be fine. Yeah, it hurts, but you still got a lot of good players on offense, and I think the defense is definitely going to be better. So I think the Patriots will be just fine until he comes back.
All right, and then the story of Brian Colangelo resigning as president of the Philadelphia 76ers.
Man, you talk about a crazy situation there. Colangelo with the whole Twitter account situation, and it's just too bad. Now with this whole thing, what does this mean for the team going forward? Could this hurt their chances of getting LeBron James in the offseason? This team was definitely on the uprise, and who knows? I think this thing could set this team back a little bit. So, I don't know how you feel about that, Florio.
Well, go back into once this show is uploaded into my archives, you can rewind the show and you'll get my and MF's thoughts about this. So,
all right, so let's just move right along.
Yeah, move right along. Washington Capitals. How about the Washington Capitals winning the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, it certainly is a great moment. For the first time in franchise history, they win the Stanley Cup, and Alex Ovechkin, he's accomplished so many things in his career, and now he's got the one thing that he hadn't gotten, and that's the Stanley Cup, and they beat the surprising Vegas Golden Knights in 5 games, and the city of Washington is rejoicing, but the one thing I did love after the Stanley Cup final was Washington. They put out an ad basically congratulating the Vegas Knights on one of the most successful inaugural seasons ever. Now that is the definition of class act.
Man, absolutely. Only the second expansion team to reach the Stanley Cup final in the first year. Of course, the St. Louis Blues did that 50 years ago. And then moving on, Golden State Warriors, same old story, same old song and dance. Winners and still NBA champions. 2 in a row, 3 out of 4. The dynasty, man.
Yes, they are officially a dynasty. They took care of the Cavs in 4 games, and yeah, they certainly got something going for this franchise, and I hate to say it, if they keep the team the way it is, they could be champs for a while. I think they're the first team to repeat as champions, I think, since the LA Lakers did in 2001, 2002.
No. Miami Heat.
Oh, Miami Heat. I keep forgetting about that.
Of course, because they were overhyped and overrated. We all know that. So
yeah,
2012 and 2013. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that.
I don't blame you. All right, and now to the segment we've all been waiting for. couple weeks ago, you and our special friends in our crew participated in the 50th anniversary of the Special Olympics Rhode Island State Summer Games up at URI a couple of weeks ago. And we look forward to this every year. I mean, your experience stories are always fun to hear, and I got a feeling this is probably going to this particular story is going to be probably the most fun maybe ever, because this was such a special year.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a special year. I mean, especially with this being the 50th anniversary overall of Special Olympics, and we changed it up this year with the State Summer Games, and the thing is we didn't have a relay event because they had so many things going. They had so many changes with the opening ceremonies of the State Summer Games, but I can tell you, I did get a silver medal in the 200-meter run and a gold medal in the 100-meter run. And of course, this year we actually had the parade of athletes to the Ryan Center, where the Special Olympics Rhode Island State Summer Games opening ceremonies took place, and of course they were emceed by Mike Montecalvo and Yanni Caracas of Channel 12, and we had one certain special guest that took part in the opening ceremonies, and that is the chairman of Special Olympics International and the son of the late Eunice Kennedy Shriver, Tim Shriver. I mean, that was certainly a great moment for him to come back to Rhode Island. And of course, last time he was in Rhode Island, he actually presented Pontiac High School with a unified champions banner, but now he came back for the opening ceremonies of the State Summer Games, and actually my father actually got a chance to shake hands with Tim Shriver, and that's a moment I'm sure my dad will never forget. And of course, I've had the chance to meet him numerous times. So, and of course, my girlfriend Mary Ellen with her Global Messenger speech at the State Summer Games opening ceremonies, which I posted a video of it on my Facebook page, which I'm pretty sure you guys saw. So, and that was certainly very powerful with what she said there, and she did pretty good too with her swimming events. I mean, she got a couple gold and a third place in her events, and yeah, I mean, this definitely was a great weekend. Yeah, we did have some downpours, but it didn't stop the fun of the entire weekend. And yeah, and of course, next month, my girlfriend and some members of the Special Olympics Rhode Island office will be heading to Chicago for the actual 50th anniversary celebration, where it all started in Soldier Field. So this is definitely a big year, and there'll be a lot more special things going on, especially here, to help commemorate the 50th anniversary. So yeah, so it's pretty much all I can say. It's definitely going to be a big year. So Florio, I mean, what do you and Fletch have to say? I mean, do you have any thoughts on 50 years of Special Olympics?
Congratulations on that. It's a great honor, and Mary Ellen's words, very nice, very powerful indeed. You got yourself a great woman there, Bullock. That's all there is to say about that. I mean, no question there. Real quickly, I'm very curious to know. I mean, I know you guys represented us as only you could, but how did you guys do? I mean, how did our circle do?
Well, I told you how I did. I got a gold in the 100 and a silver in the 200, and Mary Ellen in her swim events, she got 2 gold and a third place, and I'm trying to remember how Ryan Avedisian did, but I think he did good in his powerlifting events, and Brian Keenan did well in his track and field events. So yeah, I mean, this was definitely well. Mike Keenan didn't get to compete this year, but he said he'd be back next year. So, but that's pretty much like well, and of course Heather did well in some of her events, in some of the field events, and especially swimming. So
Nice.
Definitely a great weekend for all of us. But all in all, it's all about the celebration of 50 years of Special Olympics.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And
it'll all come, of course, all culminate next month with the actual celebration in Chicago.
Yes, indeed. And definitely keep us posted on that. And of course,
well, I'm pretty sure Marielle, and of course she'll be going, and I'm pretty sure she'll put up some stuff when she goes to Chicago.
Okay, yeah, definitely. We'll definitely keep an eye on that. And on behalf of all of us here at Strictly Sports, we congratulate you and all the members of our crew. Another job well done, and congratulations to all of you on this magical achievement. It's a great achievement.
And Florial, all this wouldn't happen without the founder herself, the late Eunice Kennedy Shriver.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
And I was so happy to get a chance to see her back in 2004. Me and my family did, and it's certainly a moment that I'll never forget.
Absolutely. I would have felt the same way if it had been me. So yeah, so Special Olympics, one of the greatest, one of the classiest, and one of the best organizations out there. An organization that, deserves all the support it gets. So well done, all of you. And we appreciate you sharing your story with us, Bullock. I mean, your stories are more fun every year, and it's a yearly tradition that you get to share your story with all of us here. So we look forward to hearing what you have to say about that next year at this time. So with all that being said, let's continue on with the Major League Baseball Power Rankings. MF, let's get back into it. MF, let's have your number 6 here. I believe that's where we left off. So let's get to MF's number 6. Bullock, you can just hang because I mean you just got in, and MF and I, we have the power rankings from here on. So let's get back to MF.
All right,
now.
no problem.
Yeah. All right. Never mind. So we left off at MF's number 6, and hopefully we can get him back in, and we'll get his number 6, and we can continue on.
All right. So we were at number 6, and okay, we were talking about Atlanta at number 7, right? So
Yeah,
number 6, you said Arizona, which I agree. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna agree with you, Anthony. So Arizona Diamondbacks is the number 6 here, and we're just gonna let that be. So Michael Bullock, we'll give it to you.
Bullock.
Is Bullock abstaining?
Well, he just got in, and we already got into the power rankings.
All right, so he'll abstain. All right, so I guess it's just you and I, Florio, to run it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I would have agreed with us anyway.
Yeah. So number 5. Sorry, it's a little inside joke with me and a couple of my buddies. But number 5 is. Do I want to say it's them? Yes, the New York Yankees. Number 5, 44-20, leads the AL East just by a smidge, a half game on the Boston Red Sox. They're breathing right down their necks again, but 7-3, winners of 1 in a row because it was a 4-3 win over the lowly, not so good Tampa Bay Rays, 4-3 winners. And it was good for what it was worth, not bad. So nothing more to say. So my number 5 is the Yankees. Anthony, it's yours.
New York Yankees, number 5, 44-20. By percentage points, they lead the Red Sox by 7 percentage points. Um, I know it's very confusing. I know. Um, since our last power rankings, the Yanks it was scheduled to have a 3-game series with the Baltimore Orioles. They got the first 2 games in Baltimore, won them both, outscored them 12-6 in those 2 games. The third game on the third got rained out in Baltimore, and then they split a day-night doubleheader with the Detroit Tigers up in Detroit, and then they swept a 2-game interleague series. I mean, no, not an interleague series, a 2-game series with the Toronto Blue Jays up in Toronto. They were off last Thursday, and then they won 2 out of 3 from the New York Mets, the Subway Series up at Citi Field. They were off on Monday, and then they split a 2-game interleague series with the Washington Nationals. They won the first game 3-0, and then they lost the second game 5-4. And then a big win over Tampa Bay 4-3. Gleyber Torres, he did it again. Another clutch home run for the young man. He did it again. So watch for that young man. He's fun to watch, folks. No doubt about it. It was the first of a 4-game series with the Tampa Bay Rays. They got 3 more against the Rays this weekend at the stadium. And then Monday they have that huge makeup game against the Washington Nationals in Washington. And then Tuesday, oh boy, a very tough series coming up. 3-game series against the red hot Seattle Mariners. That is going to be very interesting. That's got major power ranking implications in that one. And then next weekend, a 3-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays, this time up in Tampa at Tropicana Field. Yanks playing well. A couple slips here and there, but they're third in runs scored, third in the whip, 6th in ERA, 10th in batting average, solid numbers around. So really nothing more to say here. So my number 5, it is the New York Yankees. Moving on to number 4. And Michael Bullock, I think you're going to like this because it's your team, the Boston Red Sox. They come in at number 4, 47-22. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games, but they've won 3 in a row. And they lead the league in batting average. They're second in runs scored. They're 4th in team ERA, and they're 5th in the whip. Very good numbers across the board. Since our last power rankings, they won 2 out of 3 from the Houston Astros up in Houston. And then they won 2 out of 3 from the Detroit Tigers.
Actually, Florio, I have to correct you. They split a 4-game set with the Houston Astros.
Oh, they played on May 31st. Okay, yep. All right. They split a 4-game series with Houston. And then they won 2 out of 3 from the Detroit Tigers. And then the low point, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Dutch Chicago White Sox at home. I don't get that. But then they made up for it. A 3-game sweep of the Baltimore Orioles, outscoring them 13-5 in those 3 games. And as of right now, they are in the midst of a huge 4-game series with the Seattle Mariners at Safeco Field. And through 7, they have a 2-1 lead going into the 8th inning. So major implications here. 3 more against the Mariners this weekend, including Saturday Night Baseball on Fox this Saturday night. They'll be off on Monday, and then they're going to have a 3-game series against the Minnesota Twins up in Minnesota. And then after that, they get the Mariners again. Seattle this time comes to Fenway. Including another Saturday night Fox game. So the next 2 Saturdays, well, actually make it the next 3 Saturdays, we're going to be seeing the Red Sox on the Saturday Night Baseball on Fox. They're at Seattle this weekend, and then next week they got Seattle coming to Fenway. And then after that, at the end of the month, they're at the stadium against the Yanks. Ooh, that's going to be a big series coming up at the end of the month. So keep an eye on that. But for right now, Boston Red Sox, number 4. Mookie Betts, on fire. Nothing more to say. So, MF, Boston at number 4.
That is agreed. Yes, indeed. Boston is number 4. They've been looking really good lately. Wicked strong. Mookie Betts actually the AL leading vote getter at this moment. So yeah, he's doing wicked good, and I got really nothing more to say about that. So we're on to number 3 now. And this is where, let's see, where are we? Okay, number 3, we start out with the LA Dodgers, 35 and 32. I know that kind of doesn't really scream number 3 in the power rankings. However, 8 and 2 in the last 10, winners of 3 in a row. Uh-oh, they're back. Well, they're looking really good. They're playing very good lately, and maybe this might be that surge that they need. 2 out of the divisional lead, basically trailing the Diamondbacks, who they've been doing pretty good lately themselves. So, but also they got to handle their business. Big game tonight against the San Francisco Giants, a start of a 3-game set. We'll see what happens then. And, my number 3, like I said, Los Angeles Dodgers. Anthony, go.
Yep. Los Angeles Dodgers coming in at number 3. Winners of 3 in a row, 8 and 2 in the last 10, 35 and 32. A couple games behind Arizona. And by the way, that Arizona result is a final. The D-backs got the win, so it's now 2.5 at the moment. So the Dodgers are 5th in runs scored. They're 10th in ERA and WHIP, and they're 16th in batting average. And this team finally getting its groove back. They had the best record in baseball last year, 104 wins, got to the World Series. They were 1 win away from winning it for the first time in 30 years, but they got tripped up by the Stros, as we all know. So since our last power rankings, 3-game sweep of the Colorado Rockies, and they did so in grand fashion. Unbelievable. Outscoring them 33-19 in those 3 games. And then they won 2 out of 3 from the Pittsburgh Pirates up in Pittsburgh. Sorry, MF, but they won 2 out of 3 against your Braves last weekend at Dodger Stadium. They were off on Monday, and then they swept a 2-game interleague series with the Texas Rangers, outscoring them 15-7. They were off. Well, they're actually off tonight, so they're not playing right now, MF. So you stand corrected. Tomorrow, they start that 3-game series with the San Francisco Giants, the second greatest rivalry in all of baseball, only behind the Yanks and the Sox, of course. Always fun when they get together. This time it's at Dodger Stadium, including a Saturday Night Baseball on Fox game right there. And then that 3-game series, the NLCS rematch with the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field, Monday through Wednesday, and then they're off on Thursday, and then they go up to Citi Field for a 3-game series with the Mets. So, so very slow start for the Dodgers, but they're finally looking like that team that went to the World Series last year, had the best record in the game. So, so really nothing more to say here. So, number 3, Los Angeles Dodgers. Moving on to number 2. I believe they were number 1. In our last rankings 2 weeks ago, they were number 1, but they stepped back a little bit. They're at number 2, the Seattle Mariners, 44 and 24. They're in a virtual tie with the Houston Astros atop the AL West. They've won 4 in a row. They're 8 and 2 in their last 10. They're 4th in batting average, 9th in WHIP, 11th in runs scored, and 13th in ERA. And since our last rankings, they swept the Tampa Bay Rays 3 in a row. They split that 2-game series with the Houston Astros 1-1 up in Houston. They won the first game 7-1, lost the second game 7-5. And then they won 3 out of 4 from the Tampa Bay Rays up in Tampa Bay at Tropicana Field. And then followed that up with a 3-game sweep of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim at Safeco Field. But right now, they're trailing the Boston Red Sox 2-1 in the top half of the 8th inning up at Safeco. The first of a big 4-game series with the Sox. They got 3 more against Boston this weekend, including that Saturday night on Fox game. They're off on Monday, and it doesn't get any easier for the Mariners because then they got to go to New York for a huge 3-game series against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, Tuesday to Thursday, and then next weekend they got to face the Sox again. Only this time they got to go to Fenway to do it. So These next 10 games, my friends, are going to tell us if this Seattle Mariners team is for real. These 4 against the Sox at home, and then the 3 in New York, and the 3 in Boston, and then we can close the floodgates on the 25th, because then they got to go to Baltimore, and they should have an easy time with them, and then the Royals come in after that, so that's going to be easy for them. So these next 10 games, my friends, like I said, we're going to find out, is this Seattle Mariner team for real? We'll see. I don't want to post judgment yet, because the last couple of times I've judged some teams, they've proved me wrong. And if they go 500, at least 500, then we'll see. But if they go over 500 or even better, then they're for real. But we're gonna find out. So, number 2, Seattle Mariners, MF. I mean, these next 10 games, we're gonna find out if this Mariner team truly is for real.
Oh, without a doubt, yes, and with a considerable doubt. They've been, they started out pretty hot, pretty good. Basically, everybody thought, "Oh, this is gonna be too easy for Houston," but Seattle's hanging tough, man. The 80-game suspension that was levied against Robinson Cano, a lot of people thought, "Oh, that's gonna be the end of this." That was gonna be the end of the hopes for Seattle for anything, and they've kind of stood tall, up to this point. So, maybe they didn't need Robinson Cano in this situation. Who knows? But I like what I see from them. They're definitely playing great. If it wasn't for the team at number 1, maybe we'd be talking about them being the number 1 team in the power rankings this week. So, I mean, yeah, without a doubt, what they've been doing lately has been remarkable. And, we just got to wait and see. So, all right. Anthony, I guess it's time for number 1, and number 1 is the reigning and defending Major League Baseball champions, or the Major League Baseball World Series champions, Houston Astros. They're practically tied with Seattle in record wise, but only by percentage points. Seattle is ahead, but that could always change because they are losing to Boston right now. It's not official yet; it hasn't gone final, but they are in trouble. And Houston 8-2 in the last 10 games, winners of 8 in a row. So yeah, what they've been doing has been unbelievable. Number 1, Houston Astros. Anthony, it's all yours.
There you go. Without a doubt, number 1, and I can definitely say with a bullet, it is the Houston Astros, winners of 8 in a row, 8-2 in the last 10, 45-25. Percentage points behind Seattle. It's just like in the East with the Yanks and the Sox. Houston, number 1 in almost every statistical category here. They're number 1 in runs scored, number 1 in ERA, number 1 in WHIP. The only thing is batting average, they're only second. Oh, goodness. Oh, what are we going to do? All right. Since our last rankings, they split that 4-game series with Boston. They split a 2-game series with Seattle. A 4-game sweep of the Texas Rangers up in Texas. And then they followed that up with a 3-game sweep of the Oakland A's. And they outscored Oakland 26-11 in that 3-game sweep, by the way. And 24-15 against the Rangers in that 4-game sweep. And it gets easier. Oh my goodness, they've got an easy schedule coming up. They got a very soft schedule coming up for pretty much the rest of the month. I mean, next up, they have a 3-game series with the Dud Kansas City Royals up in Kansas City. And then they got the Tampa Bay Rays coming in for 3, starting on Monday. They're off on Thursday. Then they get the Royals again, this time in Houston. And then they got Toronto at home. And then they go to Tampa to close out the month. Oh my goodness. I mean, easy schedule coming up for your reigning and defending World Series champions. I mean, man, and it carries over into the month of July. I mean, the next month or so, they're gonna have easy games coming up. I mean, Then they got to go to Texas, and then they got the White Sox and Oakland, Detroit. Their next meaningful series won't be until after the All-Star break when they go up against the Angels. Goodness. I mean, sky's the limit for this team. Man, wow. You want to talk about a soft schedule? That's pretty soft to me. We talked about Seattle having a murderer's row schedule. Whereas Houston, oh my goodness, they've got it easy for the next month. My goodness. They'll probably get tripped up along the way, but with a schedule that soft, man, this team's going to be really, really tough. That's all there is to say about that. You thought they were good last year. They could be even better. That's all I can say about that. That pitching staff is lights out. Altuve, Correa. Oh, my gosh. Scary. All I can say on that. So, nothing more to say here. Number one for this week, and who knows? Next time we do this, they could be number one again. You never know. With that soft schedule, come on. Number one, your reigning and defending World Series champion, Houston Astros. Nothing more to say. This special Thursday night edition of Strictly Sports is in the books. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. Let's get into our quick shout-outs here. Bullock or MF, whoever wants to start it first, it's yours.
All right, I'll start it. I want to say thank you to all the great fans out there for making the show as incredible as it is, as always. You guys are the best fans in the world. To the super fans, you guys know who you guys are. To the 2184 crew, love you guys to death. And to our friends in the junior high and high school days, much love to you guys as well. And that's it. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll see you guys tomorrow night for the preview of NXT TakeOver Chicago and for the Money in the Bank. And until then, Mike Fletcher, you know the routine. Hugs and hand pounds. We out. Have a good night, everybody. So long for now. Mike Bullock, it is all yours, my brother.
All right. We thank you all so very much for tuning in for another edition of Strictly Sports, a special Thursday night edition of Strictly Sports, to say the very least. Of course, shout-outs to all of our tremendous fans out there who continue to support our shows. Of course, shout-outs to all of our super fans out there. You guys know who you are. To all of our friends from the high school days, you guys know who you are. To all of our local personalities from 6, 10, and 12, all of our personalities from ESPN, Fox Sports, who certainly have a busy time, of course, with the World Cup and, of course, the U.S. Open with their coverage. So, busy time for them. Of course, also shout-outs to the MLB Network, NFL Network, NHL Network, NBA TV, and all the other networks out there. Of course, our friends from the Road Show, of course, former co-host Mary Larson, Megan Mooney, of course, to the three current people, Will, Brendan, and Michaela. So, yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for me. So, until tomorrow night for our preview of TakeOver Chicago and Money in the Bank, this is Mike Bullock saying thank you all so very much for tuning in. Of course, you know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Orchard 4 style. Bye for now. And enjoy your Friday. So Florio, take us home.
Yeah, we'll do Bullock. Of course, special shout out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to support our shows, to get our shows over. We appreciate it as always. You are the best fans in the world. Of course, special shout outs to Dee Dee Woodson and Kevin Woodson and the Woodson family, Matt Ward, Jason Nixonbaugh, Daniel Luttrell from the UK, our other first ladies, Kaiser Butler, Megan Silva, and Lexi Calloway. Our other crew members, Tommy Souza, Eric Carrier, Jimmy Alden, Al Braderson, and Rob Parsons, and of course, the man himself, Derek Ferreira, without whom none of this would be possible. And all of our crew members all of our personalities from 6, 10, and 12, ESPN, FS1, MLB Network, NHL Network, NBA TV, NFL Network, Chantel McKay from the Golf Channel, Stata Sorrell, Lindsay McCormick, of course, all of our friends from the Road Show, Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, Michaela Johnson, and of course, former co-host Megan Mooney and Mary Larson. And of course, last but not least, my wonderful friends and church family over at Oasis of Grace Ministries on 464 Silver Spring Street in Providence. If you need a church home, check them out. Exit 25 off Route 95. Sunday morning at 9, Bible study, a little after 10, Sunday service. Wednesday night at 7, Bible study, other things going on. And And that's it for that. Look forward to seeing them on Sunday as always for another great service. And of course, our busy week continues. Tomorrow night, 10:30, right around same time tomorrow night. This would be our traditional Strictly Sports lineup, but this time around, it's going to be a very special edition of the Wrestling Forum, as we are going to preview both NXT TakeOver Chicago 2 and the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And then Sunday night, hop on over to MF's channel, RaceFan95, as we will recap the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And then Monday night, we got Ridiculously Raw, sort out all the fallout from Money in the Bank on the Raw side. And of course, my Tony's take on 205 Live and Impact Wrestling. And then Tuesday night, the Cerebral Smack Talk with MF on RaceFan95. Run down the SmackDown fallout for Money in the Bank. And we'll see if he has a Mikey's. Well, yeah, he will have a Mikey's Mind. Oh, actually, no, because he already did the Lucha Underground. So we'll see if he has a Mikey's Mindset on Tuesday. And then back in our traditional time slot next week for Strictly Sports. And Derek, I know, will have the docket for us on Monday, I'm sure. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for our NXT TakeOver Chicago and Money in the Bank preview, it's Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, for Michael Bullock, and in spirit, Didi Woodson and Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday. Until tomorrow night for our big Wrestling Forum special, you've been watching Strictly Sports, the special Thursday night edition of Strictly Sports, right here on the Tone 25 at YouTube.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, loyal. So long, and bye, everybody. Bye.